Remember about a month ago when the latest rumor was that the Mandoverse movie was going to leapfrog the Rey film and we would get Ahsoka and Mandalorian characters on the big screen first? We here on this channel said we're skeptical. That's not what our sources are hearing. And it turns out that our skepticism was warranted. Sorry folks, but the Rey movie is rapidly moving into production, and the director now is out with more controversial statements, this time saying that the film will be feminist, and that it's about time that Star Wars was led by a woman. Consider us shocked. We thought Star Wars had been led by a woman since 2012. Well, folks, lots of channels out there and many articles are going to discuss this. We, however, will continue our pattern from 2023 as we have a scoop on this, and we're excited to bring it to you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the WDW Pro channel. Coming to you live from the mobile studio here at the Mecum Car Auction in Kissimmee, Florida, where good times are to be had. What is not fun, though, is watching the demise and the downfall of Star Wars. Every time you think the bottom has been reached, they breach the bottom and take it even lower. And that's what we're talking about today. This, an article out of thatparkplace.com, which if you are not yet bookmarked, well, what are you doing? Bookmark thatparkplace.com. John F. Trent, the author, and of course, John was featured in this morning's video with us. Upcoming Star Wars director Sharmeen Obed-Chinoy. I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable. Now, this is going to be an article that talks about the latest news. Please note that last year, very early in the year, we were already out talking about this quote that she had made, and perhaps talking about it before anybody else. Now, of course, it's hit the mainstream as people are beginning to realize who this lady is. In 2015, Sharmeen Obed-Chinoy, the director of an upcoming Star Wars film focusing on Daisy Ridley building her Jedi Order, made it abundantly clear that she likes to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable, she said. During an appearance at the Women in the World Summit alongside fellow insufferable activist and director Ava DuVernay and actress Meryl Streep, Obed-Chinoy was asked by activist host Jon Stewart, as an activist and an artist, do you make that calculation? Who is my target? You talked a little bit about, I want women to watch this and I want them to feel empowered and I want my daughter to have heroes. Goes on to finish that. And of course, Obed-Chinoy responded in the affirmative. She does like to make men uncomfortable, whatever that means. She then added, it is important to be able to look into the eyes of a man and say, I am here, and recognize that I am working to bring something that makes you uncomfortable because you need to change your attitude. And it's only when you're uncomfortable, when you're shifty, when you have to have difficult conversations, that you will perhaps look at yourself in the mirror and not like the reflection. Now, my issue with this, of course, folks, is that there are men who need to look in the mirror, and there are also men who are far, far greater humans than Miss Chinoy. And that's just a fact. At the same time, there are also women who are far less moral than this director, and who are also exemplars who are far greater than she. And the idea that you can put one gender or one sex into a single category of virtue or non-virtue is idiocy and tyranny, all prepared to be unleashed. And that is what we are getting, of course, with Star Wars. It does not appear that Chinoy's opinions have changed much in 8 years. During an appearance on CNN's New Year's Eve coverage, Obed-Chinoy briefly discussed the upcoming film, saying, I am very thrilled about the project because I think what we are about to create is something very special. And we are in 2024 now, and I think it's about time we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away. Now, as I said in the intro, I'm confused and confuzzled by this. I thought that Star Wars had been led by a woman since 2012. And so it's fascinating.
Woman, you say, bro?
I say, Jonas, welcome aboard. It's fascinating.
Hello, sorry that I'm late, folks. But
I'm
here to, of course, bring up the primary woman who did, in fact, shape Star Wars. A little bit mistreated, of course, by George Lucas. The woman who shaped Star Wars being Miss Marsha Lucas.
Well, wait a minute. You mean it's not Kathleen Kennedy?
Oh my! No, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about real Star Wars, not Disney Star Wars.
Are you suggesting, Jonas, that Kathleen Kennedy was simply a barista assisting with the coffee and caffeine needs of the original Star Wars movies? I'm shocked.
I would be surprised. Was she, if they remembered what their cup of coffee was, even at that time? When people say that Star Wars was saved in editing, what they are not saying is Marsha Lucas is the reason that you love Star Wars.
That is a great point, and I think it gets to the heart of the issue here, Jonas, which is that it is only the right women It's only the women they prefer to name who are allowed to be the ones that we believe broke the glass ceiling. Miss Chinoy is the one at this time that they want you to believe is breaking the glass ceiling. Kathleen Kennedy is the one they wanted you to believe was breaking the glass ceiling before. But the Gina Carano's of the world and the others who are not of their preferred list at the time, they get no respect. They get, it's like Mr. Dangerfield. They get no respect. No respect, I tell you. Jonas, let's take a look at this video right now about what Miss Obed-Chinoy had to say, and we'll get that started right now, folks. Here we go.
I am directing the next Star Wars film. Excited about bringing Daisy Ridley back into the Star Wars galaxy and in telling her story. I'm excited to be immersed in the Jedi Academy. And I think there is so much excitement around the new Jedi Order. I've always kicked open doors that were previously closed. And I think my feeling is that there is a critical mass of women who have begun to move forward in places that were previously closed to them. I've been a filmmaker and a storyteller for the last 20 years. And a few years ago, I began to think about what I wanted to do. Miss Marvel was coming around, and I thought about...
So you get the idea, Jonas. And, Miss Marvel, of course, one of the lowest rated Disney Plus live shows we've ever seen, hardly tracked on the Nielsen ratings, and yet she is being awarded. She is rising up through the ranks simply by failure. But this feels to me a bit, Jonas, like it's almost like splashing the corpse of Star Wars with a dose of estrogen. But I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to rise up just because you doused it with estrogen. So, Jonas, what do you make of this idea that Star Wars has not been led by a woman and that the doors were blocked to women? Is she attempting to say that Kathleen Kennedy is a misogynist?
No, I would say that this is complete baloney, and she wants to say that she's got an achievement when she does. When she said she's breaking down doors or breaking open doors, I'm reminded of the last time that my dog ran through the screen door, where we have a pretend door there, and you're not supposed to break through it, but really there's nothing stopping you. There. Kathleen Kennedy has been in charge of Star Wars since before Disney bought it. Not very long before Disney bought it. In fact, if you read Iger's book, apparently George sold it to Disney, and the sale date was a couple of months after Kathleen Kennedy was put in charge, and he didn't tell her that he was selling it to Disney. So there's a little,
which really begs the question: she was in charge, because you can't be in charge if what you were in charge of is being sold out from under you without your knowledge.
Right. But Kathleen Kennedy, obviously, since 2012, has been shaping this entire franchise. There's some debate about who was in charge of Force Awakens, probably Bob Iger. But since then onward, she's been happy to take credit for all of the successes and none of the failures of Star Wars since then. So are we trying to minimize the brave, beautiful, and valiant,
stunning, I tell you, Jonas,
stunning and courageous Kathleen Kennedy? Or are we trying to erect another candy glass ceiling in order to pretend like we're breaking through it?
A candy glass ceiling. I may have to steal that phrase. Well played. I would also say, Jonas, that we're going to have a scoop in just a few, folks. We're not misleading you with that intro. Hang tight. We're going to get to the scoop in just a few, but let's take a look now at how this is actually hitting the mainstream, and I think drawing even more attention to the Rey movie in a negative way, which is not what Disney needs right now at all. We covered recently that the box office did dramatically worse than projected. There are articles out now, as of early this morning, which are trying to adjust that, but they're using the Chinese market in a way that we'll be explaining, I suppose, in the next days as well, as we continue to try our best to show you what reality actually is. Needless to say, Disney can't afford failures, though. This was a flop-tastic year, 2023. Disney can't stop poking the corpse of Star Wars. This by Lincoln Brown out of PJ Media. I don't know who Lincoln Brown is, but I can tell you this. The fact that we're seeing this now pop up all over the web, I think indicates that the mainstream view now about Star Wars is just dismal. Here's what we've got. It says, "In my day," he said, leaning back in his rocking chair and taking up his whittling, "we didn't have no episode of New Hope. We had Star Wars, and we were grateful to have it. And it's true, we were. A great deal of mental energy has been burned up analyzing why the original film was a blockbuster. Culture pundits have focused on the American malaise from the war in Vietnam, Watergate, and the national hangover from all the 60s activism. Names like Campbell and Kurosawa have been invoked. But I was there for the first run. I know why it was a hit. It was a film about heroes, robots, space wizards, starships, and lightsabers. It was fun, and no one had ever done anything quite like it. It goes on to praise those things. Then it goes on to talk about, my wife and I took our grandson to see The Last Jedi. I was not impressed, and neither was he. The story was dragged, was poorly crafted, and hastily slapped together. The characters were wooden and undeveloped. I wasn't interested in any of them, including Luke Skywalker, for crying out loud. Rose and Finn had some promise, but it was clear they had been added so Disney could say, look, we have diversity, yay us. It was an insult to the characters and the actors. And then it goes on to point over Obed-Chinoy in this clip from CNN. Let's listen to this.
Also the first woman and the first person of color to direct a Star Wars film. It's set to be released in 2026. You can say that the force is strong with this one. Here's Sharmeen Obed-Chinoy.
You know, I'm very thrilled about the project because I think what we are about to create is something very special. And we're in 2024 now. And I think it's about time that we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy.
Wait, that's a different background. I had assumed you were playing this video previously, but now I realize that's two different backgrounds. So this might not even be her. Then this might be Disney, or in this case, Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm coming.
That is what exactly, Jonas. This may be official talking points.
Oh, come on, Disney! What are you doing?
Is it? I mean, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Just like this Newsweek article, and you know, it's funny to me too. So, if you look to the right on Newsweek, talking about biased media, we've already discussed this in the morning video. It's doing exceptionally well in terms of viewership. It's funny to me that the media is obsessed with what would be or would appear to be an exoneration, and yet they are framing it in such a way as to get clicks by making it look like somebody was listed in a negative way in those documents that released, and yet that's not what occurred. It's just amazing to me, and as John Trent and I discussed, the propaganda is real. Star Wars directors comment about MinSpark's calls to boycott, though. This is an effort, Jonas, largely, I think, and let's see who the author here is. It's Rachel Dobkin. This article is largely an attempt to paint those who are offended by what Ms. Chinoy says in a negative light. It's meant to do damage control for what many now think might be an official talking point. That said, just by virtue of the fact that they're covering it, Star Wars directors comment about MinSpark's calls to boycott. It doesn't matter what's in the article. It doesn't matter the defense they're running now. Star Wars is dead. And no matter what they say, folks are going to read this now. They're going to see what she said. And no matter how much defense is run by Newsweek, it's still not going to fix that folks are becoming aware now that the Star Wars, which was already dead, is somehow being buried, 24 feet under the ground. I don't think this is going to work at all. Do you think the media has any chance at spinning this into something that they can get away from, or that they can convince anybody to go back to a Star Wars movie?
Well, if the intention here is to get people to watch this movie, no, absolutely not. If the intention here is to try to make Disney into a symbolic puck or token of the culture war in order to make conservatives look bad, then yeah, they might be successful in that, because there are a lot of people who are not paying attention to Star Wars, as is evident by their ratings and their failing box office. So if they want to make this into something that is strictly for political purposes, then yes, they could be successful. If they're going to try to make money off of it, no. I don't think that Lucasfilm is all of a sudden going to make money by sowing division in the same way that they've done now for years on Star Wars properties. So then, before we get to the scoop, Jonas, and you haven't heard anything about the scoop yet, you joined and began doing this conversation with me directly after you finished up your live stream with That Park Place. So you and I haven't even had a chance to talk about this at all. So you'll come into it a bit blind. But before you hear about the scoop, I just want to ask you, do you think that this could actually underperform the Marvels, the Rey movie? Do you think that there's that kind of market animosity towards Lucasfilm at this time? Oh, absolutely. I think everybody is generally frustrated. There was the base level of people that and I disagree with this particular sentiment that since they put a girl in the lead role of Star Wars, therefore they're trying to chickify it. Okay, I actually liked Force Awakens, but when they killed Luke Skywalker, spoiler alert, in the second film in a less than graceful way, and also made him to kind of be the opposite of the hopeful character that he was, a lot of people had a problem with it. And then by the time they got to the third film and they're just trying to check the boxes and put as much false nostalgia into those films as they can. I think if they were good movies, we'd have a better case here, consistently good movies. But I think people are just tired of it. Solo was a great example of a movie that most people only talk about it as whether or not it should have been made, and now Star Wars on Disney Plus for pretty much forgotten. So they've turned away the audience, and it's their job to bring something that will bring people back to the theaters. And I don't think this is going to do it.
So Jonas, let's get into the scoop that we have. About a month ago, there were rumors that the Mandoverse movie was going to leapfrog the Rey movie in terms of production and release. You remember those rumors?
Yes, I do.
And it seems now strongly that's not the case, that actually the Rey movie will go into production this year and likely will be the first Star Wars movie, the first new one we've had in a very long time. 6 to 7 years probably by the time it releases. And so one of the ways that we were able to be skeptical about that Mandoverse movie is because we do have great sources who keep us informed very well, and we're so pleased and happy to have that. One of those sources now is letting us know there's a continuation of what we've been reporting. Earlier, maybe a month ago or so, we reported that the Rey movie likely was going to receive a smaller budget versus what Lucasfilm would want. And while that's rumor and speculation territory, I'm starting to think that might be more and more likely. Clearly, the source is now reaching out, and we're going to try to bring this out in full disclosure on Saturday. We're working on it. We've got to make sure that everybody who's involved in that scoop would be protected, and what we need to say and what we don't need to say that could get people in trouble. So we'll try to have it in full resolution on Saturday. But here's what we can say today. Jonas, it looks like, according to the source, that Sharmeen Obed-Chinoy is being very public and positioning this as she is a woman of color. It's time for her to be in charge. That she's being so forthright in this kind of DEI language in order to protect the film from being cut even more drastically. And what is being alleged is that the Walt Disney Company, although I cannot prove this independently, that the Walt Disney Company, many of the higher-ups are extremely squeamish now. And squeamish is the word that was sent my way in regards to the viability of this film. They're quite nervous. Hopefully, Saturday we can explain what they might be looking to do to get themselves out of this situation, if I can grammar today. Jonas, going back to what you had said, that it's fascinating she's using this language over and over, and going back to that it might be official talking points. From who? We don't know. Is it from Lucasfilm? Is it from her? Is it from Disney? We don't know. What do you make of the idea that it might be a preemptive defense to protect a movie that Disney may be turning green over because they might not be making green with it?
I think that, one, that sounds like the kind of thing that we've seen from Kathleen Kennedy in the past, announcing movies in order to defend yourself from firing, to try to get people excited, in order to try to jazz up interest, and then you get the funding for it. There are a lot of stories about that. Of course, the list of projects that have leaked out of Star Wars, out of Lucasfilm. And when I say leak, I mean like the Hollywood Reporter. We're not talking about the blog sites or anything like that. They have a frequent tactic, especially when working with Bad Robot, which this is not, of trying to put something out there in order to do a weather balloon. Well, Kathleen Kennedy's weather balloons are armor plated with these peculiar gender and racial bombs.
She puts poison pills. She creates poison pills where it's difficult to take her down.
Now, that being said,
let me throw this other scoop, and then give me your analysis on this. I wasn't going to say this. I think we're okay to say it. It should also be noted that, based on what we're hearing, this movie likely goes into production late summer. Jonas, what happens in October of this year?
October of this year?
2024. What's a very big deal at Lucasfilm in October 2024?
That is the expiration of Kathleen Kennedy's contract, is it not?
I'll simply say that the source says to watch this, that it's a big deal that this movie has been delayed until what seems to be late summer for its production, that production may still be going on at that point, and that it may be significant. That's all I'll say. But I think we're safe in saying that. Jonas, final thoughts on just more pile driving of a franchise that is on the mat. Just leave it alone. What are your thoughts?
We talked about this a little bit on that Park Place Live, where Bob Iger, because of the nature of his skin tone, feels like he's at a disadvantage, to where he is beholden to a group of people that he thinks can call him out, and doesn't have the courage he needs to actually right the ship here at Disney. Not that he's interested in riding the ship at this point in the way that he needs to make the creative decisions that he seems to claim he's able to make. Wow. I think that in this case, if you bring in a new executive, the easiest thing for them to say is, we're not doing any of the current projects. We are retooling, and they will have carte blanche to say, oh, it was the last guy. Now, the way that Bob Iger works, I don't think that he's going to allow someone in to cancel everything. He'll probably still be in charge of the board or something ridiculous like that, and not actually hand over control until 2026, when this movie has already come out. So if someone new comes in, they've got the opportunity. I don't think that Bob Iger has the guts to say, we're not going to be doing this strategy of alienating the fans. That was actually a Bob Chapek initiative. One of the few things that I really think that Bob Chapek got right was these initiatives to stop people from attacking the fans in order to market your film. I can't think of a single film that has been successful in that kind of marketing, despite the fact that Hollywood is so convinced that it works.
That needs to be said over and over, Jonas. The initiative, the policy that was being put in place when they went after Bob Chapek, when Iger and the Shadow Campaign went after Chapek, was, we are no longer going to fight with our fans. We are no longer going to divide ourselves from our consumers. We are not going to be maligned with the marketplace. And that was what had him ousted. That in politics, we believe. Jonas, this Saturday, we're committed. We're going to do everything we can to get this out. There's a lot of logistics that have to happen, and it's got to happen with me on the road. So this will be difficult, but we'll do everything we can. And Jonas, if we're so lucky, perhaps you'll even be able to rejoin us for that Saturday morning discussion. We're going to try our best, folks, to get out everything we can in terms of how Disney is potentially going to try to get out of this movie. You do not want to miss that one. Jonas, fantastic work over on That Park Place, the YouTube channel, and continuous good job over with the website with your investigative reporting. Thank you for managing to hop in here as soon as your live stream was over. We all appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you. We've worked very hard on That Park Place, but at the same time, I still feel very blessed to have the success that we have had so far. Every time I look at the numbers, I think how lucky I am.
Well, that's because the folks out there listening right now, that's right. We're talking to you. Yes, you. You are the electricity that drives this all. Thank you, folks, for being a part of this and making it possible. Of course, far in excess of 20 million views in 2023, and we expect to blow by that number in 2024 as we continue to explain entertainment and keep you ahead of the culture curve. How will we do it? Hopefully, doing the very best we can to tell the truth, keep you ahead of the culture curve, and explain entertainment in a way you won't hear anywhere else. All right, folks, it's your turn now. If you like this kind of content, click the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it and stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts when it comes to the Rey movie, to Star Wars. And folks, find something better to say than just Star Wars is terrible. We've known that for years. It's time to start talking about what's going to happen when it comes to this director specifically. And do you think that the Rey movie could possibly beat Aquaman 2? I'm going to go there. I'll say that it will do worse than Aquaman 2, beating it, not in a good way, but in a bad way as far as falling below even its numbers. It'll be a revenge of the fan. But folks, you tell me your thoughts in the comments. All right, that's it for us today, folks. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
fix this up here.
This is one big cultural appropriation, don't you think?
What do you mean? We're just celebrating the Year of Medmut.
There's no thing called the Year of Medmut. There's a dog, but not a Medmut. Where do you get this from? Were you reading Time magazine again?
No, but I just figured that since he's so generous, he deserved to be like Star of the Year. The goat, if you will.
No.
You all know goats are hot.
You're just trying to suck up to him to get a membership on our channel, aren't you?
Maybe.
That's so disgusting. I'd say you should be ashamed of yourself, but trying to butter up to him like that... Then again, it is you.
Look, man, butter worked on Jonas.
Putting butter on a second-degree burn isn't a solution. Besides that, there's like another restraining order against you going near anyone in the kitchen. But you know what there isn't a court order for? Subscribing to WDW Pro and bookmarking thatparkplace.com, where John Trent is editor-in-chief, so you can keep ahead of the culture curve and get accurate information, which will also keep you from getting burned by the mainstream media.
So you are saying I did a sick burn?
You're an idiot. Now clean all this up.
Yeah, I'm not cleaning this up.